Imagine waking up tomorrow with the undeniable sensation that you're no longer just the person you thought you were. What if you suddenly had memories, clear, detailed, and vivid, of a life you lived long ago? Picture this: you step into the shoes of your past self, feel the rush of experiences you once had, see faces of people you never thought you knew, and maybe even understand why certain places or emotions have always had a magnetic pull on you. What would it reveal about your current life? Could the answers from that past life help unlock a deeper understanding of your present challenges, or even show you a new path forward? The idea of past lives isn't just an abstract concept, it's a potential key to understanding the mysteries of who you are today. Have you ever wondered why you're drawn to a particular culture, era, or location, despite never having encountered them in this lifetime? Or perhaps there's a recurring challenge, fear, or anxiety that you can't explain, no matter how hard you try to pinpoint its origin. What if these feelings were the echoes of unresolved stories, carried over from a time you can't consciously remember but that still influences you? Imagine being able to tap into the essence of your past life, maybe uncovering a long-forgotten talent that lies dormant inside you, or discovering a purpose you never even thought possible. Maybe you've always had a knack for certain things but never understood why. You could be an artist, a healer, or a warrior. Who knows what talents and passions might surface once you understand the history that shaped them. The way your past life intertwines with your present could be the very thing you need to break free from a current struggle. It might even explain why you feel an unexplainable sense of connection or disconnection with certain people or situations in your life right now. Could it be that the answers to your current dilemmas, whether emotional, professional, or personal, are already written in the tapestry of your past? There's a deep, powerful connection between your past and your present. By tapping into it, you may find that your current challenges aren't random at all, but are part of a larger, cosmic story. What if unlocking the secrets of your past life could give you the insight needed to navigate the obstacles you face today, be it in your relationships, career, or emotional well-being? And what if, in exploring this part of yourself, you began to heal old wounds or break through patterns you've been unable to shift for years? Could the wisdom of your previous lives offer you a unique perspective on how to live more fully in this one? The possibilities are endless, and the answers may just be waiting for you to discover them. The journey into your past life is not just about looking back, it's about unlocking a deeper truth that could change everything about how you experience the world today. Would you dare to step into this mystery and see what unfolds? Life, according to Buddhist teachings, is not a linear experience but a vast, interconnected cycle. This cyclical view of existence, called samsara, suggests that each lifetime is part of an endless loop of birth, death, and rebirth. It's a profound realization that life does not simply begin and end with a single lifetime. Instead, we are all travelers on a journey that spans multiple incarnations, each one building on the last, shaped by the karmic seeds planted in our past lives. At the heart of this understanding is karma, the principle that our actions, thoughts, and deeds, whether good or bad, carry over from one life to the next. It is believed that the choices we make today, in this life, are influenced by the unresolved karma of previous ones. These actions leave an imprint on our soul, one that carries with it lessons, gifts, and challenges. These can manifest in subtle, often unconscious ways, influencing our desires, behaviors, and even our relationships. But when we truly begin to understand this concept, we open the door to the possibility of transformation, not just in this life, but across many lifetimes. Imagine for a moment what it might be like to tap into this ancient wisdom. What if you could look at your current life not just as a singular story, but as a chapter in an ongoing saga that has spanned centuries? The idea of exploring past lives is not just about curiosity or self-exploration, it's about unearthing the hidden patterns and unresolved issues that have been following us through time. Just as a detective might study clues to solve a mystery, looking into past lives offers a way to understand the deeper forces at play in our present lives. Take, for instance, the extraordinary lives of some of the most influential people in history, people like Albert Einstein, Marie Curie, or Leonardo da Vinci. These individuals were not only ahead of their time in terms of intellect and creativity but also seemed to possess an innate understanding of the world and an almost otherworldly ability to bring their visions to life. What if this ability wasn't entirely from their current lifetime? What if their brilliant minds had been shaped by experiences and knowledge accumulated over many previous lives? Perhaps in their past lives, they were once scientists, scholars, or inventors, laying the foundation for the talents they displayed in this incarnation. Each step they took, each new insight, might have been the result of a long-standing karmic journey. For example, look at someone like Napoleon Bonaparte, a man whose name is synonymous with power and ambition. His rise to fame and his ability to command and lead armies may have seemed like a product of his environment or his unique personal drive, but the idea of past lives suggests that this might not be the full picture. What if Napoleon's incredible leadership skills and strategic mind were influenced by a history of military lives, where he had honed his understanding of warfare, power, and influence? His actions in this life could be seen as the culmination of skills and abilities he had developed over many lifetimes of experience, each one bringing him closer to his destiny. But it's not just about the great leaders or inventors. Past life influences can also explain the struggles we face. Some of our deepest challenges may seem illogical or impossible to overcome, no matter how hard we try. We may feel inexplicably drawn to certain situations or people, or we may find ourselves repeating the same patterns of failure or disappointment. These aren't just random occurrences, they may be the karmic residue from past actions and choices. Think about someone who is caught in a cycle of unhealthy relationships, always attracting toxic partners no matter what they do. This pattern could stem from past life experiences where they made decisions or carried out actions that now, in this life, play out as destructive relationships. Take someone who has a deep-rooted fear of abandonment, but no obvious reason for it in this life. Perhaps in a past life, they experienced deep emotional trauma from being left behind, and the karmic imprint of that trauma has carried over into this incarnation. Without understanding the root of that fear, they might spend years of their life repeating the same emotional patterns, sabotaging relationships, or pushing people away. Recognizing the pattern, and understanding its origins, can be the first step toward breaking the cycle. It allows individuals to make different choices that transcend the limitations set by the past. The more we understand the cyclical nature of life and the influence of past lives, the clearer it becomes that everything we face today is not a random occurrence, but part of a larger process, a process of growth, learning, and healing that stretches far beyond the boundaries of a single lifetime. The patterns, behaviors, and even the talents we exhibit in this life may have roots in experiences and lessons from many past lives. For example, if someone feels a profound sense of connection to music, art, or philosophy, it could be a reflection of a past life spent immersed in those fields. These talents may not have just appeared out of nowhere, but could be the result of a deep karmic connection to that craft, an unbroken thread of creativity carried over from another time. What's even more fascinating is that understanding the cyclical nature of life can help us unlock new aspects of ourselves. By recognizing the patterns that have carried over from past lives, we can begin to consciously change our behaviors and choices. We can address our unresolved karma, healing wounds that have been carried through the ages. This not only improves our current life, but it also has the potential to shift our future incarnations, allowing us to evolve into more enlightened and awakened beings. In the end, the cyclic nature of life and the concept of past lives offer a deeper, more expansive view of who we are and why we do the things we do. Whether we are leaders like Napoleon, creators like Leonardo, or everyday people struggling with old wounds, the power of understanding our past selves can help us break free from limiting patterns, unlock hidden potentials, and, ultimately, live more fulfilling lives. By acknowledging that our current existence is but one chapter in an ongoing journey, we open ourselves to the profound wisdom of the ages, wisdom that can guide us to a more enlightened and harmonious future. What if the challenges you face today, those recurring struggles that never seem to go away, aren't random at all? What if they've been with you for much longer than you realize, carried forward from a past life that you may not even remember? There's a growing belief that many of the issues we experience in this lifetime, emotions like loneliness, a constant fear of abandonment, or the inability to fully trust others, may have roots in unresolved experiences from past lives. These challenges aren't just personal hurdles, but echoes of something deeper, something that stretches across the timeline of your soul. Take, for instance, the feeling of loneliness. It's something that many of us feel at various points in life, but for some, this sensation goes beyond mere social isolation. It's a profound, almost existential loneliness that lingers even when you're surrounded by loved ones. You might have a full social circle, a family who loves you, yet still feel like something is missing, like there's a hole that can't be filled. This isn't just a fleeting feeling, it's a deep-rooted emotional scar that may have been formed in a past life where you were abandoned or separated from those you loved in a devastating way. Perhaps in a past life, you lost your family in a tragedy, or were exiled and forced to live alone in an unforgiving world. The pain of that separation could have imprinted on your soul, carrying over into this life, where you now find yourself haunted by an unshakable sense of emptiness, despite the people around you. This sense of loneliness can sometimes manifest in subtle ways that can be hard to pinpoint. You might feel like you're constantly seeking something, a deeper connection, a sense of belonging, a place where you truly feel home. But no matter what you achieve, no matter how many friends or romantic partners you have, the feeling doesn't quite go away. In such cases, it's as if your soul is trying to heal the unresolved wound from the past, but because you don't consciously remember that experience, the emotional scars continue to affect you. This is where understanding past lives can be life-changing, because by uncovering these deep-seated fears and pains, you may be able to address the source of your suffering and finally free yourself from it. Similarly, the inability to trust others can also trace its roots to a past life. Trust is fundamental in relationships, yet for some, it's incredibly difficult to build or maintain trust, even with the most reliable and loving people. This isn't a result of current experiences but may stem from a betrayal or deception in a previous life, where someone you trusted deeply let you down in the most devastating way. Imagine being betrayed by a close friend or loved one, someone you thought you could count on, and the impact of that betrayal stayed with you for lifetimes. In your current life, the emotional scar from that betrayal might cause you to be constantly wary of others, even though you have no reason to doubt them. Your mind and body are simply reacting to that unhealed wound from long ago. Perhaps, you've experienced situations where you've been deceived by a romantic partner or felt let down by a friend. You might struggle with paranoia or an overwhelming need for control in your relationships, not because of anything wrong with the present-day people around you, but because your soul carries the lingering pain of having been misled or hurt in another life. This can create a constant fear of betrayal, making it difficult to form the deep, trusting bonds that others might take for granted. It's a pattern that repeats itself over and over, not because of a lack of trustworthiness in the present, but because the past is echoing loudly in your subconscious, reminding you of an ancient wound that still hasn't been fully healed. Another common challenge that many people face is the feeling of being stuck or not living up to their potential. You might feel like there's something you should be doing, some deep calling you're meant to answer, yet for reasons you can't explain, you find it hard to move forward. You may even feel that something's missing, but you can't quite put your finger on it. This sense of dissatisfaction could also be a karmic remnant of a past life, where your talents, gifts, or dreams were left unfulfilled. Perhaps in another life, you had the potential to achieve great things, but were cut off by circumstances beyond your control, maybe political upheaval, war, or a social system that denied you the chance to pursue your passions. These unfulfilled dreams and talents may have remained dormant in your soul, awaiting the right conditions to be unlocked in this lifetime. This concept can be illustrated by looking at some of the world's most successful, influential people. Take a figure like Steve Jobs, for example. Known for his visionary thinking, creativity, and relentless drive, Jobs had an innate ability to transform technology and change the world. But what if his talents weren't simply the result of his upbringing or personal ambition? What if they were carried over from a past life, where he had a different experience that helped hone his intellectual abilities or leadership qualities. Perhaps in a past life, he was involved in creating something revolutionary or leading others in a way that developed his unique skills. The struggles he faced in this life, his challenges with relationships, his moments of loneliness, and even his health issues, might have been the karmic price of carrying such immense talent and vision. Likewise, someone like Oprah Winfrey, who overcame extreme adversity in her early life to become a globally influential media mogul, might have faced challenges that were not just the result of her circumstances but also due to past life patterns. Oprah's natural empathy, her deep understanding of human nature, and her ability to connect with people might be tied to the lessons learned in previous lives. Perhaps, in another time, she was a healer or a spiritual guide who learned the importance of compassion and understanding on a deep, soul level. The challenges she faced, her childhood trauma, her struggles with self-worth, her ability to trust others, could all be part of a larger karmic pattern that shaped the person she became. Recognizing these patterns can be incredibly liberating. When we understand that our struggles, whether emotional, mental, or physical, are not isolated incidents but rather the continuation of unresolved experiences, we can begin to approach them with a sense of curiosity rather than frustration. These challenges are not the universe punishing us, but rather opportunities for healing, growth, and evolution. The key lies in recognizing the root causes of our issues and then addressing them with compassion and understanding. By acknowledging that some of the pain and patterns we carry are not our fault, but part of a much larger journey, we can begin to free ourselves from the limitations of our past lives and open up the possibility of living a more empowered, fulfilled existence. Life's challenges don't just repeat because they're meant to keep us down. They repeat because they are unresolved echoes from the past, and every time they appear, we have the opportunity to heal them. When we finally break free from the grip of these karmic patterns, we can step into our true potential, no longer bound by the emotional scars of past lives. The challenge, then, is not to resist these patterns, but to understand them, heal them, and finally set ourselves free. Have you ever felt an inexplicable pull towards something, whether it's a specific skill, a passion, or an interest, without any formal training or explanation for it? Maybe you're drawn to music, art, languages, or even complex subjects like science or philosophy, but you can't quite put your finger on why. It's almost as though, deep within you, there's a sense that this talent or passion has always been part of you. It's not just a hobby or an idle interest, it feels ingrained in your very being, as though it's a natural extension of who you are. There's a possibility that these unexplained talents are not just a product of this lifetime, but could be remnants of skills and experiences that you carried from a past life. Consider the phenomenon of someone who can pick up a musical instrument and, almost immediately, start playing beautiful, complex melodies without any formal lessons. They haven't studied music theory, nor have they spent years practicing, yet their hands seem to know exactly what to do, as though the instrument is an extension of themselves. It's almost as if they're channeling the expertise of someone who was a trained musician in a past life. This isn't just random, it's a deeply embedded talent that has crossed the threshold of time, carried by their soul through different lifetimes. A person may not remember their past life, but the essence of their previous expertise can resurface in unexpected ways. Perhaps in a past life, they were a composer or a virtuoso, spending hours upon hours perfecting their craft, and now, in this life, that skill is awakened as if it was waiting to be rediscovered. The same concept can apply to other fields. Take, for example, someone with a natural inclination for painting or sculpting. Despite never taking an art class, they possess an uncanny ability to create breathtaking works of art. They don't need to follow a strict curriculum or learn techniques, everything flows effortlessly from them. Could it be that in a past life, they were an artist? Maybe they spent decades studying brushwork, texture, and color, creating masterpieces that captivated the world. The artistic soul may have been so deeply embedded within them that it transcends time and place, emerging again in this life with a sense of purpose and passion that feels almost fated. Then there's the individual who feels an intense pull toward a particular culture, historical period, or place. Perhaps they are drawn to ancient Egypt, the Renaissance, or the classical civilizations of Greece and Rome. It goes beyond mere fascination. There's a deep resonance that feels familiar, as though their soul has lived in those times or places before. This isn't just idle curiosity, it's a soul's recognition of something it once knew. A person might feel inexplicably comfortable in a certain type of environment or culture, or they might experience vivid dreams or even flashbacks to past times. These attractions could be linked to past lives, where they once lived, loved, and worked within those cultures. For example, someone who feels connected to the Egyptian civilization might have been a priestess, a scholar, or even a royal in a previous life, with an innate understanding of the rituals, traditions, and practices of that time. Sometimes, the strongest clues to past life connections show up in our interests and passions. A person who has a deep, inexplicable love for languages, even those they've never studied, might have been a linguist, a translator, or a scholar in a former life. Imagine someone who, despite having never taken a language class, can easily learn new languages or communicate effortlessly with speakers of other languages. This ability might be a direct link to their soul's previous experiences, where they had spent years immersed in languages, translating ancient texts, or traveling as a diplomat between cultures. Their talent for language isn't just a skill, it's an echo of their soul's journey through time. In some cases, people experience a deep sense of déjà vu in relation to a certain profession or life purpose. Take, for example, someone who is drawn to leadership roles or finds themselves naturally gravitating toward positions of power and influence. Even though they may have no formal training in management, they excel at inspiring others and guiding teams with confidence. Could this talent for leadership have been honed in a past life, when they were a ruler, a general, or an influential figure in society? Historical figures like Winston Churchill, who led the British Empire through its darkest days, or Queen Elizabeth I, who governed with strategic brilliance and unmatched political savvy, might have had leadership abilities that were not simply developed in this lifetime but had been carried over from their past incarnations. The confidence, wisdom, and decisiveness they showed might have been nurtured over multiple lifetimes, each one building upon the last. This idea of hidden talents and unexplained draws extends to other areas of life as well. A person who is inexplicably good with animals, able to communicate with them or understand them in ways that others cannot, might have been a healer, a caretaker, or even a veterinarian in a past life. Their deep empathy for animals could be a carryover from an earlier existence when they worked closely with them, perhaps even treating their wounds or caring for them in a spiritual capacity. Similarly, someone who feels an innate calling to serve humanity, whether through charity, medicine, or activism, might have spent previous lives dedicated to helping others, fostering a sense of compassion that transcends their current experiences. The intriguing thing about these hidden talents and unexplained draws is that they challenge the boundaries of our understanding of time and identity. We often think of ourselves as finite beings, defined only by our present lives. But what if our true nature spans far beyond this singular existence? What if we are actually carrying the wisdom, skills, and experiences of countless previous lives, and those gifts are waiting to be awakened? The soul is timeless, and it doesn't forget the lessons and abilities acquired in past lifetimes, it simply stores them, ready to be tapped when the time is right. As we explore the idea of hidden talents and unexplained draws, it opens up the possibility that we are not just the sum of our current experiences, but the culmination of all the lives that have come before. The skills, interests, and passions that seem to emerge naturally in this life might not be new at all, they may be echoes of a deeper, more profound truth about who we are, a truth that connects us not only to our present selves but to all of our past selves. And when we start to acknowledge these hidden talents, we might find that our true potential is even greater than we ever imagined, stretching across time and space in ways we can only begin to comprehend. For some people, there's an undeniable and almost magnetic pull toward solitude, a deep, instinctive need to retreat from the bustle of everyday life and find peace in quiet corners of the world. This yearning isn't just a fleeting desire, it's a profound connection to something greater, something deeper, perhaps a calling that transcends the present moment. It might be easy to dismiss this need for solitude as introversion or an individual quirk, but what if it runs much deeper than that? What if the intense need to be alone, to meditate, to reflect in silence, is not just a psychological trait, but a spiritual inheritance from a past life? This idea isn't just speculative, it has roots in ancient teachings about the nature of the soul and its journey through multiple lifetimes. The belief in reincarnation suggests that the soul is eternal, undergoing numerous lifetimes to learn, grow, and evolve. It's not bound to just one body, one personality, or one life experience. Instead, it carries with it all of the lessons, challenges, and growth from past existences. And for some people, this manifests as an innate ability to seek spiritual truth in solitude, to feel a sense of peace when they are alone in nature or in deep meditation, as if their soul is drawn to this state because it recognizes that this was the environment it once thrived in. Consider the most famous spiritual figures in history, the Buddha, Jesus Christ, and other revered mystics who all spent extended periods of time in isolation, contemplating the mysteries of existence, seeking answers to the big questions of life. These figures didn't simply retreat from the world for personal respite, they withdrew from society to deepen their connection to the divine, to explore the nature of the soul, and to find enlightenment through solitude. They lived in seclusion, in the wilderness, in caves or deserts, away from the noise of the world, in search of spiritual awakening. They understood something profound about the inner peace that comes from turning inward and finding meaning through introspection, not external validation. For individuals who feel a similar calling to solitude, it's as though their soul recognizes the importance of silence, of being alone with themselves, in order to connect with a higher truth. This doesn't mean they are antisocial or disconnected from the world, rather, it suggests that they are attuned to a deeper, more spiritual need, a need that transcends the ordinary and taps into something ancient and eternal. The need to meditate, to find peace in nature, or to simply be alone might be a manifestation of a past life spent searching for spiritual insight, in which they found solace and wisdom in silence. The drive for solitude can also bring with it a sense of difficulty in connecting with others, a sense of being different or out of sync with the world around them. It's as though their soul is still adjusting to the present life, one in which connection with others is a vital part of human experience. If a person has spent many lifetimes focused on solitary spiritual practices, forming emotional bonds and participating in society can feel like a daunting task. In this life, they may struggle to navigate the complexities of relationships, whether it's feeling like an outsider in a group, or experiencing emotional disconnection despite being surrounded by others. Take someone like the Dalai Lama, for example. While he is a highly respected spiritual leader, his life is rooted in the ancient traditions of Tibetan Buddhism, where meditation and spiritual reflection are at the core of his teachings. The Dalai Lama's life is a perfect illustration of the power of introspection and solitude. His role requires that he live in a world that is deeply connected to others, yet his ability to lead, teach, and inspire comes from his inner peace, a peace that is cultivated through years of solitary meditation and spiritual practice. It's as if his past lifetimes spent in deep contemplation have given him a profound understanding of how to lead from a place of inner truth, and not just outward charisma. Similarly, figures like Mahatma Gandhi and Mother Teresa also illustrate how solitude and reflection shaped their life's work. Gandhi spent significant periods of time in seclusion, engaging in deep reflection and prayer, which allowed him to rise above the turbulent political landscape of his time and lead with clarity and purpose. Mother Teresa, though dedicated to serving others, also found moments of quiet reflection that enabled her to connect with the divine and understand her calling on a profound level. These individuals weren't just practicing solitude for personal gain, they were reflecting on the spiritual truths they had carried through lifetimes, and that connection to something greater fueled their immense ability to serve and guide others. The deep need for meditation or reflection isn't just about escaping the world, it's about returning to a place of spiritual alignment. Some people find themselves naturally drawn to meditative practices, yoga, or mindfulness techniques, not because they've been taught these practices but because their soul recognizes them as a way of reconnecting with something profound. For someone who has lived a past life as a monk or a mystic, these spiritual practices may feel incredibly familiar. Meditation, for instance, might come so naturally to them that it feels as if they have been practicing it for lifetimes. They may not be able to explain why they feel such peace in these practices, but there's an undeniable sense that this is what their soul has longed for, a return to the stillness that it once knew so well. But the shift from a life of solitude to the fast-paced, social nature of modern life can be jarring for those whose past experiences were rooted in isolation and spiritual reflection. They may find themselves struggling to form emotional bonds, feeling overwhelmed by the demands of social interaction, or yearning for time alone in order to reconnect with their inner self. This is not because they don't value relationships, but because their soul is still adjusting to the reality of this life. It's as if they are torn between the pull of the present, which requires them to engage with others, and the pull of the past, which calls them to seek peace in solitude. Someone like Albert Einstein might be a modern example of this phenomenon. Despite his immense contributions to science, Einstein was known for his solitary nature, his preference for time alone to think deeply about the mysteries of the universe. He spent long periods reflecting on concepts that would later revolutionize our understanding of the world. While he wasn't a traditional spiritual seeker, his need for solitude and deep introspection suggests that his mind, perhaps even his soul, had been shaped by a past life of contemplation and profound thought, as though he had lived through lifetimes of seeking wisdom in isolation. This pull toward solitude, then, could be a reflection of something much deeper, an imprint left on the soul from a past life of spiritual seeking. Whether it's through meditation, quiet reflection, or simply the need to connect with nature, this deep yearning for peace and solitude may be a profound reminder of the wisdom and spiritual growth that has been accumulated over many lifetimes. It's not just a longing for quiet, but a call to reconnect with a deeper truth that transcends time and space, urging the soul to reflect, to meditate, and to seek answers in the silence of its own being. For some, the pull towards war and military strategy isn't just an interest, it's a deep, almost visceral connection that seems to transcend this lifetime. From the moment they first hear of battles fought long ago, or see a military leader command their forces, these individuals experience a rush of recognition, a sense that they've been there before. There is an innate understanding of battle tactics, an intuitive grasp of what makes a leader successful, and a deep, unwavering admiration for warriors who fought for causes, often against all odds. It's not just about the thrill of battle, but about the courage, resilience, and strategy involved. It's as if these individuals are drawn to the very essence of what it means to lead in times of crisis, to stand firm when everything around you crumbles, to make decisions with life or death stakes. Take figures like Alexander the Great, who commanded vast armies and changed the course of history. His conquests, his strategic genius, and his unwavering belief in his mission were legendary. It's almost impossible to ignore the profound impact such a leader left on the world. For those who feel a connection to Alexander's story, it could be more than admiration, it might be the echo of a past life where they too were a conqueror, a strategist, or a commander. The soul may carry the memory of standing in battle, making the difficult decisions, and leading armies to victory. This sense of familiarity with leadership and military strategy could explain why some people feel as though they've lived a life of military discipline, despite having never picked up a weapon. But it's not just historical figures like Alexander that we look to. Consider the modern-day examples of leaders like Winston Churchill, who rallied the British during World War II, or even contemporary political leaders with remarkable charisma and leadership qualities. Churchill, whose speeches could stir the souls of millions, displayed a resilience and foresight that kept his country going even when defeat seemed inevitable. His instincts during the war, his decisions under extreme pressure, and his ability to inspire and unite people all pointed to something more than just political acumen. Could it be that the soul of someone like Churchill was forged through past lives spent on the front lines of battle, gaining a deep understanding of leadership and strategy? What if this sense of unwavering courage and powerful leadership came from the lessons learned in ancient, forgotten wars? What if, in another life, Churchill was not just a politician but a military leader, making decisions in times of turmoil that shaped the future? For those who feel a deep, almost magnetic pull to stories of war and strategy, there is often a sense that something is missing, that their purpose in this life could be connected to leadership, to guiding others through turbulent times. These individuals might find themselves reading about wars or military strategies, studying the methods of generals and commanders, and feeling as though they've been there. It's as though their soul is drawing on ancient experiences, carrying within it the wisdom of someone who has lived through battle, someone whose resilience and tactics have been forged through hardship and conflict. But with this deep-seated knowledge of leadership comes a unique challenge. For those who have been warriors or leaders in previous lives, the transition to a life of peace can be difficult. The qualities that once defined their very existence, bravery, strength, authority, might now feel at odds with a world that emphasizes collaboration and diplomacy over conflict. The warrior's heart might find it challenging to adapt to the subtleties of peace, the intricacies of building trust, and the skills needed to lead in ways that do not involve physical confrontation. This inner conflict can manifest in many ways. For example, a person with a deep connection to military history may find themselves in a modern-day leadership role, but struggling to reconcile their past life experiences with the peaceful solutions required in today's world. They might have a natural inclination to take charge, but they also feel a constant pushback from a society that values cooperation over competition. Consider the case of a modern corporate leader, perhaps someone at the helm of a massive company, making high-stakes decisions that affect thousands, even millions, of lives. This person might be drawn to military history or war strategies, often seeing parallels between the corporate world and the battlefield. Their approach to leadership could mirror that of a general leading troops into a critical battle, calculating risks, making difficult decisions, and commanding with authority. In fact, the emotional weight of decision-making may be felt more deeply by them than by others, as their soul might carry the imprint of past lives where such decisions meant the difference between life and death. These individuals may even experience recurring dreams or memories that tie them to another era, where they stood on battlefields or led soldiers into war. At the same time, these past experiences may also come with lingering challenges. For someone who was once a general or a soldier, the skills they developed in previous lives are not always suited for peaceful times. They may find themselves struggling to adapt to modern leadership roles that require a balance of compassion, emotional intelligence, and team building. While their military past may have honed their resilience, their leadership might also need to evolve. They might need to learn how to use their strength and authority in a way that empowers others, rather than commanding through force or fear. Take General George Patton, a figure renowned for his leadership during World War II. Patton's career was defined by his relentless pursuit of victory and his ability to motivate his men, even in the face of adversity. But Patton also faced internal struggles, his intense personality, his inability to adjust to the complexities of post-war peace, and his unyielding approach to leadership sometimes put him at odds with others. His struggles may have been a result of his soul's previous experiences, where he was accustomed to leading troops through war but not necessarily navigating the delicate political and diplomatic landscapes of peacetime. For individuals like Patton, the challenge lies in transitioning from a life shaped by military conflict to one that requires a more nuanced approach to leadership, one that demands empathy, diplomacy, and understanding. Yet, the soul of a warrior is not easily silenced. For those who feel a deep connection to leadership and military strategy, their challenge is to learn how to channel their warrior spirit into positive, peaceful endeavors. These individuals are often born with an innate sense of purpose, a drive to lead, to make a difference, to protect and to fight for what they believe in. But the task before them is to understand that true leadership does not require a battlefield. It requires a different kind of courage, one that can build, rather than destroy. By channeling their strength into social causes, political movements, or humanitarian efforts, these individuals can use their past life experiences to create a better world, one that is shaped by resilience and vision, not by warfare and conflict. In the end, the soul's journey is about evolving, taking the strength and wisdom of past lives and using it to navigate the challenges of the present in a way that honors both the warrior and the peacemaker within. Some individuals seem to carry with them an innate, unexplainable drive to explore the deepest mysteries of existence. From a young age, they may feel an insatiable urge to question the nature of reality, why we are here, what happens after we die, or what the true meaning of life is. This isn't simply an intellectual curiosity, but a deep, internal yearning that feels like it is rooted in something much older than this current lifetime. There's an undeniable sense that the answers lie within, but they just need to uncover them. For many people, this relentless search manifests as a profound connection to spirituality, an unyielding draw toward practices like meditation, yoga, or prayer. These individuals are often captivated by ancient texts, sacred writings like the Upanishads, the Tao Te Ching, or the writings of mystics and philosophers from long ago. There's a sense that these texts hold keys to unlocking not just personal peace but universal truths. For others, it's a fascination with sacred symbols or metaphysical concepts, such as karma, reincarnation, and the afterlife. The search doesn't just stop with intellectual interest, it becomes a way of life. These seekers yearn to experience the truth directly, not just to learn about it in books, but to embody it in their very being. Now, it's possible that this thirst for knowledge about the cosmos and the mysteries of the human soul isn't a result of this lifetime's upbringing or education. Instead, it could be a continuation of something that has been passed down through countless past lives. Many believe that we don't simply start anew with each incarnation, but rather carry the experiences, lessons, and wisdom of our previous existences with us. If you've ever wondered why some people are born with an overwhelming pull toward spiritual practices or why they feel a deep, unshakable connection to ancient teachings, it may be because, in a past life, they were deeply involved in the spiritual world, perhaps as a monk, a philosopher, a healer, or a spiritual leader. Imagine someone who has always felt a deep connection to meditation or has been drawn to spend long periods of time in solitude. They may feel at peace when they are in nature, surrounded by silence, and feel overwhelmed by the noise and chaos of everyday life. This could be a reflection of a past life spent in a monastery or retreat, seeking inner peace, wisdom, and enlightenment away from the distractions of society. The desire to meditate for hours on end, to sit in silence and contemplate the nature of existence, could be an echo of a previous life where that was their daily routine. This kind of inner peace may come easily to them, as if their soul remembers the discipline and devotion of a life dedicated to spiritual practices. Take, for example, the lives of historical figures such as Buddha or Laozi, who are known for their deep spiritual wisdom and teachings. These figures weren't just teachers, they were individuals who devoted their lives to understanding the nature of reality and guiding others to the truth. People who feel a connection to these kinds of figures or are naturally drawn to Eastern philosophies like Buddhism or Taoism might have been spiritual seekers or guides in a previous life, following the same paths toward enlightenment. The teachings of these figures resonate deeply because they are essentially speaking to something buried in the soul, a calling to continue the search for the ultimate truth, to understand the universe at its deepest level. Consider the possibility that someone who is captivated by the philosophy of non-attachment, selflessness, or transcendence might have spent lifetimes as a monk or hermit, practicing solitude to cultivate spiritual awakening. Just like the Dalai Lama, who is revered not only for his political leadership but for his unwavering spiritual commitment, people who feel this deep inner calling to explore spirituality may have lived similar lives in the past, ones devoted to guiding others along the spiritual path. It's as though the search for truth never really ends, it's a cyclical process, one that reincarnates with each life, growing in depth and understanding. This spiritual pull often feels like it's not simply a passing interest but a deep, essential part of who the person is. People who feel drawn to mysticism, divination, or other esoteric practices often feel a sense of purpose that feels far older than any personal ambition. They might spend their current lives seeking not just personal growth but also understanding the grander forces of the universe, things that transcend human consciousness. Those who have an affinity for studying the stars, the afterlife, or the secrets of existence might have once been scholars, seers, or sages who devoted themselves to unraveling the mysteries of life and death. Consider someone like Carl Jung, who explored the depths of the unconscious mind and delved into the archetypes and symbols that connect us all. His work, which bridged the spiritual and the psychological, speaks to many who feel a similar pull to understand the deeper workings of the mind and soul. Jung's exploration of the collective unconscious and the deep, universal patterns of life resonated with those who felt an internal, spiritual longing to uncover the deeper mysteries of the world. His ideas were not just psychological, they were philosophical, metaphysical, and spiritual. He wasn't merely studying the mind, he was uncovering the sacred truths that bind the individual to the universe. For many people, the search for spiritual truth is not a passing curiosity, it's a lifetime's pursuit. It may manifest in different ways, from a love of ancient teachings and sacred symbols to a deep interest in meditation, healing, or philosophy. But underneath all these practices lies the same driving force, the quest for meaning, the desire to connect with the divine, and the need to understand what lies beyond the veil of the material world. These seekers feel as though they are on a mission, one that began long before this current life. Perhaps, like a mystic or spiritual guide from a previous time, they were once dedicated to guiding others to the light of spiritual truth. The search for spiritual knowledge may be more than just a personal journey, it may be the continuation of an ancient calling, a soul's mission that spans lifetimes. This journey isn't easy, and it often requires profound introspection and deep moments of solitude. But for those who feel this calling, there's no turning back. The search for truth isn't just a quest, it's the essence of who they are. It's the search for the answers that transcend this world, the longing to understand not just what is but why. It's the deep inner knowledge that this journey is not new, but rather an ancient one, passed down through time and carried from life to life. The soul is on a quest, and it cannot rest until it has uncovered the truth. There are some people who, from an early age, seem to possess an almost uncanny ability to innovate. It's as if their minds are wired to think outside the box, to create new solutions, and to see opportunities where others see only challenges. They're the ones who can envision the future, who can recognize potential long before it becomes obvious to others. Whether it's developing a new technology, starting a business, or launching a groundbreaking product, these individuals are driven by a deep, innate desire to create, disrupt, and change the world. And while many of us chalk this up to talent, hard work, or luck, could it be possible that some of this entrepreneurial spirit is actually a carryover from past lives? Entrepreneurs, whether they're Silicon Valley moguls like Steve Jobs or Elon Musk, or smaller-scale innovators who quietly change their industries, often seem to embody traits that go beyond mere ambition or education. They have an inherent understanding of what's needed, an almost intuitive grasp of market dynamics and human desires. This drive to create and innovate might not simply be a product of their current circumstances or their cultural environment. What if this relentless entrepreneurial spirit has its roots in something much older, something carried over from a past life where they played a key role as an inventor, a merchant, or a pioneer? It's not uncommon to hear stories of individuals who, from a very young age, seem preordained for entrepreneurial success. Take someone like Richard Branson, the founder of the Virgin Group. Branson's early life was marked by a fearless attitude towards starting businesses, even as a teenager. He founded his first business at the age of 16 and went on to build one of the most recognizable brands in the world. He's always been described as someone who looks at challenges as opportunities, someone who instinctively understands how to capitalize on trends and ideas. But where did this drive come from? Could it be that Branson's entrepreneurial spirit is not simply the result of modern-day experiences and education, but the continuation of an innate drive to create and explore that stems from his past lives? Perhaps, in a past life, he was a merchant who understood the ebb and flow of trade routes and economies, or an inventor who understood the value of creative problem-solving and risk-taking. Elon Musk, too, exemplifies this kind of unyielding drive. He's a visionary entrepreneur who has consistently defied conventional thinking, whether it's with Tesla, SpaceX, or his interest in colonizing Mars. Musk's ventures aren't just about making money, they are about changing the very fabric of society. Musk talks openly about his desire to create a lasting impact on the world, from revolutionizing transportation with electric cars to reducing the cost of space exploration. His ability to envision a future that is radically different from the present feels almost prophetic. Could Musk's relentless pursuit of innovation and progress stem from a past life in which he was an inventor or an explorer who experienced firsthand the thrill of shaping the future? Perhaps his experiences in past lives as a forward-thinking mind who pushed boundaries and ventured into uncharted territories have left a lasting imprint on his soul, driving him to continue those same pursuits in the present. Similarly, someone like Leonardo da Vinci, often hailed as one of the greatest minds in history, exemplifies the kind of visionary spirit that can span multiple lifetimes. Da Vinci wasn't just an artist, he was an inventor, a scientist, an architect, and a philosopher. His curiosity seemed limitless, and his inventions were centuries ahead of their time. Some have speculated that Da Vinci's genius was the product of his previous lives, where he may have been a skilled inventor or engineer who carried forward an understanding of science and art that transcended his era. His ability to merge seemingly unrelated fields of knowledge, to create masterpieces in art while also developing intricate engineering designs, points to a mind that was not just a product of its time but perhaps a continuation of a much older, more universal genius. And it's not just famous figures like Branson, Musk, or Da Vinci who exhibit this entrepreneurial drive. In fact, many of us, whether consciously or unconsciously, are influenced by this kind of legacy. You might find yourself consistently coming up with new ideas, creating something new out of seemingly nothing, or feeling an almost magnetic pull towards certain industries or projects that others may shy away from. These instincts, this drive to innovate, create, and lead, might be the remnants of past lives in which you were an inventor, a merchant, or a leader at the forefront of change. For example, someone who has an innate talent for starting businesses or who feels a deep sense of excitement at the prospect of pioneering a new field might have been a merchant in a past life, trading goods and ideas across vast distances. Or perhaps they were an inventor, constantly tinkering with new devices, creating solutions to problems long before their time. The traits that drive them to build new things, to take risks, and to challenge the status quo could be a continuation of a past life where these abilities were honed, refined, and tested. Even smaller-scale entrepreneurs, those who run local businesses or contribute innovative ideas in their communities, may be tapping into past life experiences that shape their natural aptitude for business. The farmer who develops a revolutionary farming technique, the artist who starts a new trend in fashion, or the teacher who builds a curriculum that transforms the way children learn, these individuals may all be drawing from talents and instincts developed over many lifetimes, a history of trying new things, failing and succeeding, and constantly learning from the world around them. This entrepreneurial spirit is more than just the desire to make money, it's a drive to leave a legacy, to make a lasting impact, and to influence the world in meaningful ways. These individuals are the ones who don't accept good enough. They are always looking for ways to make things better, to change the rules, and to challenge the limits of what is possible. If we view entrepreneurship through the lens of past lives, we can see it as part of a much larger cycle, a continual evolution of ideas and innovations that stretch across time. Just as we inherit physical traits and habits from our ancestors, we might also inherit an entrepreneurial mindset, an instinctual drive to create, improve, and pioneer. In this way, the entrepreneurial spirit isn't just a modern-day phenomenon, it's a timeless force, one that transcends generations and is passed down through the ages. It's possible that in past lives, individuals like you were the creators, the pioneers, the ones who dared to make bold moves in the face of uncertainty. And now, in this lifetime, that same spirit continues to fuel your quest for innovation and your desire to leave a mark on the world. For many, the desire to care for others feels like an intrinsic part of their being, a purpose that transcends ordinary responsibility. It's more than just a job or a role, it's a calling that seems to be embedded in their very DNA. These individuals, whether parents, nurses, social workers, or everyday helpers, often feel as if their life's purpose is intertwined with the well-being of others. They instinctively nurture, protect, and provide for those around them, often at the expense of their own needs. What drives this overwhelming urge to care, often without thinking of the personal cost? Some may wonder if this sense of duty is a manifestation of a deep-seated belief in altruism or if it runs deeper, perhaps linked to experiences from a past life. Could the root of this need to care for others lie in roles they played long before this lifetime? Could they have been healers, protectors, or even warriors dedicated to defending the weak? Consider the life of someone like Florence Nightingale, often hailed as the founder of modern nursing. Nightingale's instinctive drive to care for the wounded and sick during the Crimean War wasn't just about duty, it was a profound calling. Her ability to empathize with the suffering of others, to advocate for better conditions for patients, and to lead by example in the face of hardship suggests a soul that had known compassion and care in ways that went beyond the ordinary. Perhaps Florence had carried these instincts from a past life where she had walked the path of a healer or protector, someone who had devoted themselves to alleviating the suffering of others, whether through medicine, guidance, or emotional support. Her entire being seemed attuned to the needs of others, and she displayed remarkable leadership in times of crisis. This deep sense of responsibility could have been passed down from a previous existence, where she was similarly charged with healing and protecting the vulnerable. Similarly, if we look at individuals like Mother Teresa, her entire life was dedicated to serving the poorest of the poor in the streets of Calcutta. Mother Teresa's profound devotion to caring for those living in extreme poverty and suffering speaks to a soul deeply rooted in service. Her life was not just about providing physical care, but emotional and spiritual support for those who were often forgotten by society. It's easy to imagine that her tireless work wasn't born from just a modern sense of humanitarianism, but from a deeper, almost ancient understanding of what it meant to heal and protect. Perhaps she had been a healer in another life, someone who had dedicated themselves to the care of others with such single-minded devotion that it transcended time and space, following her through lifetimes until she manifested again in the modern world to continue her mission. Mother Teresa's selflessness was not just a product of her environment but a deep-rooted call that felt as if it had been passed down through the generations of her soul's existence. These examples aren't just confined to globally famous figures. There are countless individuals throughout history and in everyday life who exhibit the same profound sense of duty to care for others. They might not have a public platform, but their lives are equally marked by acts of sacrifice and service. Think of a single mother who works tirelessly to ensure her children have everything they need, despite her own struggles. Or a teacher who goes above and beyond for their students, sacrificing personal time to help them succeed. These people seem to have an innate sense of responsibility for the welfare of others, as if they have always known that their purpose in life is to care, to heal, and to protect. But there's a price to be paid for this level of devotion. While the need to help others may come naturally, it often leaves those who give of themselves feeling drained and unappreciated. The imbalance between giving to others and neglecting one's own needs can lead to burnout, resentment, and a sense of emotional depletion. The issue isn't that these individuals are wrong to care for others, on the contrary, their compassion and dedication to helping are extraordinary. The problem lies in their inability to give to themselves in the same way they give to others. The challenge, then, is learning how to balance self-care with selflessness. People who have been caregivers in past lives may have learned to give everything they had to others, but they might not have been taught how to replenish their own reserves. This is the lesson they need to learn in this life, that in order to continue helping others, they must first help themselves. In fact, it's not unusual for individuals with this kind of deep-seated nurturing instinct to find themselves in relationships that require them to give endlessly, often without receiving much in return. These individuals can be magnets for people who need their care, but the more they give, the more they may feel they are losing themselves in the process. And yet, they continue because it's in their nature. Their souls have known this role in past lives, and it feels like their purpose. It's important for these people to remember that they are not defined solely by what they can give to others. They must also honor their own needs, their own emotions, and their own physical and mental well-being. For someone deeply immersed in caretaking, there can also be feelings of guilt when they take time for themselves. They might feel as if they are failing the people they care about, or that they are being selfish by putting themselves first. But this guilt often arises from the lessons they need to learn from past lives. Perhaps in previous lifetimes, they were caretakers who gave all they had without question, without ever considering their own needs. Now, in this life, they must break that cycle. They must recognize that true healing can only take place when they heal themselves first. In order to continue to care for others, they must learn how to balance their devotion with self-compassion. Imagine, for a moment, a person who has been a healer or protector in a past life. They might have been a village elder, tending to the sick, or a warrior, protecting their people from harm. In that past life, they would have felt that their primary purpose was to give their time, their energy, and their very essence to others. In this life, however, they find themselves drawn to helping people in similar ways. The challenge they now face is to reconcile this desire with the need to nurture their own soul. By acknowledging that self-care is not selfishness but a necessity, these individuals can break free from the cycle of self-sacrifice and create a healthier, more balanced life. For those with a deep sense of caretaking, the key is to learn how to give while still preserving their own well-being. By incorporating practices of self-care, establishing boundaries, and learning to say no when necessary, they can continue to help others without losing themselves in the process. The soul's journey isn't just about giving, it's also about learning to receive, to restore, and to heal. In doing so, they ensure that they can continue their mission of caretaking for many years to come. There's something inherently comforting about the idea that our experiences, emotions, and challenges are not solely bound to the confines of this one lifetime. When we begin to reflect on our lives and the patterns we see repeating over time, it's easy to wonder if there might be something more at play, something that transcends the here and now. I once spoke with someone who, despite being wildly successful in their career, always seemed to struggle with a sense of deep isolation. They were a brilliant entrepreneur, admired by many for their ability to innovate and lead, but there was always a lingering sadness, a feeling of being profoundly alone, even in crowded rooms. They couldn't pinpoint the origin of this sense of disconnection. There was no reason for it, everything in their current life appeared to be falling into place. Yet, the sense of loneliness wouldn't go away. After a discussion about the possibility of past lives, it became clear that the feeling of loneliness might not be coming from their current life at all, but from a past one. They recalled that during our conversation, they felt as though they had once been a warrior, someone who had lived through battles, fought for survival, and led others through impossible circumstances. It struck them that perhaps, in a past life, they had endured the trauma of war or been forced into isolation during a time of conflict, where relationships were shattered, and trust was a luxury they couldn't afford. The emotional scars from that life could be playing out in their current one, despite their success and social life. This revelation didn't just provide insight into their struggle, it gave them a way to heal it. They could finally see their loneliness not as an inherent flaw or something wrong with them, but as a relic of another life. This understanding helped them open up to the idea that, while they may have once been isolated, they no longer needed to be. They could heal the wounds of the past by allowing themselves to build deeper, more meaningful relationships in the present. Another instance stands out in my memory, a story that struck a deep chord with me. A close friend of mine, someone who had always felt an unexplainable connection to spiritual practices, had spent much of their life studying ancient philosophies and seeking a deeper truth about the universe. But there was a constant feeling of restlessness, a hunger for answers that seemed unquenchable. They had often wondered if they were just wired to think this way, feeling almost out of place in the fast-paced, material world that surrounded them. Their academic achievements and career success were undeniable, but there was always an undercurrent of dissatisfaction, as if something was missing. The turning point came when they started to explore the possibility that their obsession with spiritual inquiry might have roots in a past life. After researching the concept of past lives, they had an epiphany. What if their deep connection to spirituality wasn't just a random inclination, but a continuation of something they had lived before? They began to wonder if they had once been a monk, a spiritual teacher, or even an ancient scholar, someone who had dedicated their entire life to understanding the mysteries of existence. This realization provided them with a deep sense of validation. It wasn't that they were wasting their time pursuing something intangible or foolish. Instead, they were simply following a calling that had been alive within them for centuries. In fact, it had been their very purpose in a past life to seek the truth. This perspective shifted everything for them. They no longer felt conflicted about the path they were on, they embraced it wholeheartedly, knowing that their soul had long been searching for the same answers. The restlessness began to fade, replaced by a deep peace and understanding. I can't help but reflect on how past life theories offer such a transformative lens through which to view our current struggles and our potential. When I look back on my own journey, I realized that many of the recurring challenges I've faced don't feel like random obstacles, but rather lessons that I've been trying to learn across multiple lifetimes. For example, I've always had a tendency to overthink and get caught in cycles of self-doubt, especially when it comes to decision-making. It's as if there's an internal voice constantly questioning my choices, even when I know deep down what's right. Recently, after learning more about the possibility of past lives, it occurred to me that this self-doubt might not be a new issue at all. Perhaps, in a past life, I had made a critical decision that led to significant loss or failure, something that left a deep imprint on my soul. That experience might have created a pattern that plays out in my present life, where every decision feels heavy and fraught with the fear of repeating past mistakes. But instead of feeling burdened by this insight, I felt empowered. Understanding that this fear might stem from a past life helped me separate it from my current identity. I wasn't defined by the mistakes of someone I once was, and I didn't need to carry that weight into my present life. The awareness of this pattern has allowed me to approach decisions with more confidence and less hesitation. I can now see that my fear of making the wrong choice isn't an inherent part of me, it's a trace of something that needs healing. The more I explore past life theories, the more I realize how they offer a powerful tool for self-reflection and growth. They provide a framework for understanding not just who we are, but why we are the way we are. In my case, the patterns of doubt, the struggles with loneliness, and the drive for spiritual understanding all seem to connect in a way that speaks to something much larger than the life I'm living right now. It's as if I'm not just navigating the present, but reconnecting with a much deeper part of myself, one that has been carrying these experiences across time. And with this understanding, I feel more empowered to shape the future, knowing that I can break free from old patterns and live more authentically. Past life exploration doesn't just open a door to understanding who we were, it helps us make sense of who we are now and guides us in becoming who we are meant to be. The knowledge that we carry with us lessons from countless lives before this one is both humbling and liberating. It's as if the soul has always been on a journey, learning, evolving, and growing. And with each step forward, we can leave behind the emotional scars of past lives, embrace the lessons, and finally step into our full potential in this one. Imagine waking up tomorrow with the undeniable knowledge that you have lived before. What would it mean to you if you could trace the patterns of your current life back to events, experiences, or lessons from a previous one? Picture your current struggles, passions, and even the deep-rooted fears or unexplained talents, all making sense under the light of this new understanding. The idea that our lives are not limited to a single existence but rather a continuous cycle, filled with past lessons, carries profound implications for how we approach our present circumstances. The concept of past lives is not just about who we were in another time, but how the echoes of those lives continue to shape our behaviors, decisions, and identities today. At the heart of this belief is the law of karma, the cosmic principle that states every action, thought, and emotion leaves an imprint on our soul, creating ripples that travel through time. The actions we took in past lives, whether good or bad, form patterns in our present one. If you find yourself struggling with particular fears or challenges, they may be a direct result of unresolved experiences from a previous life. Consider the person who feels inexplicably drawn to leadership roles, yet at the same time, carries an overwhelming fear of making decisions. This might not just be the result of present-day anxiety, but rather an echo from a past life where those very decisions had life or death consequences. For example, imagine a military leader whose decisions during a past war cost lives. The emotional weight of those actions could have carried over, making even the smallest decisions in this life feel burdensome. Similarly, your talents and passions may be products of experiences long past. It's easy to overlook how a fascination with a particular skill or craft can transcend time, but many people experience profound connections to art, music, or other creative pursuits with little to no formal training. This could suggest that in a past life, you were an artist, a musician, or perhaps a writer, and that your soul is now awakening these latent skills. Think about how someone like Leonardo da Vinci, whose interests spanned everything from art to engineering, might have been tapping into abilities developed over multiple lifetimes of intellectual and creative exploration. He wasn't simply a brilliant mind in his time, he might have been carrying forward the knowledge and passion from previous lives, building on them until he reached the pinnacle of human achievement. Our lives often consist of repeating patterns, the same challenges, emotional hurdles, and even the same types of relationships. Sometimes, we find ourselves caught in an endless loop, unsure of how to break free. But what if those cycles are not random? What if they are the result of unfinished business from past existences, manifesting in ways that continue to affect our choices today? For instance, consider someone who constantly experiences feelings of abandonment, despite being surrounded by people who love and support them. This may not be due to anything that happened in their current life, but instead could be the lingering trauma of a past life in which they experienced deep loss or betrayal. Such individuals may feel emotionally walled off or struggle to trust others, even when their current reality does not warrant such fear. Acknowledging this connection to past emotional scars can be a powerful first step toward healing, allowing them to release old wounds and step into a new way of being. On the other side of this, there are also those whose natural tendencies and aptitudes can be traced back to their past experiences. Have you ever found yourself with an unexplainable skill or deep fascination for a particular subject, something you've never studied, but that feels almost second nature to you? This is often a reflection of abilities cultivated in a past life. For example, a person who takes to music or painting with remarkable ease may have been an artist or musician in a past life, and their soul is now carrying that knowledge forward. In such cases, your soul's past experiences are not lost to time, they are simply waiting for you to rediscover them. It's as if a hidden treasure lies within, one you can access once you recognize its existence. Think of someone like Steve Jobs, who revolutionized technology with his visionary thinking. His intense drive for innovation may not have sprung fully formed in this life, instead, it may have been a culmination of inventive thinking passed down through multiple lifetimes of exploring new ideas and creating solutions for problems. But this understanding of past lives doesn't only speak to the positive aspects of our existence. It also helps to explain the challenges we face, the reasons behind our fears, anxieties, and emotional blocks. Whether it's a phobia, a deep sense of inadequacy, or an unexplained sense of guilt, these feelings can often be traced back to unresolved karma from previous lives. Someone who experiences chronic feelings of isolation, for example, may have been a hermit or a spiritual seeker in a past life, spending years in solitude in search of enlightenment. In the present, that person may struggle to connect with others on an emotional level, because their soul is still adapting to a life that requires social interaction and community. Recognizing this connection to a past life of isolation can help them understand their need for personal space while also encouraging them to open up to deeper connections with others in the here and now. By understanding these past life connections, we can begin to unravel the mysteries of our current struggles and challenges. The more we explore our own patterns and behaviors, the more we can begin to transform them. Think of it like a puzzle. Once you discover the pieces and where they fit, the picture becomes clearer. And as we understand our own unique life patterns, we can begin to create more harmonious, balanced lives. By understanding why we are drawn to certain paths, why we struggle with certain fears, or why we feel an unexplainable connection to a particular cause or group, we can change the course of our current lives. We gain the power to break free from the limitations we've carried with us and take charge of our future, armed with a deeper knowledge of ourselves. So whether or not you believe in the literal existence of past lives, the wisdom found in reflecting on our present patterns is undeniable. By exploring the recurring themes in our own behavior, whether through introspection or by looking at the forces that drive us, each of us has the potential to understand more fully who we are and why we do the things we do. When you look at your own challenges, passions, and talents, ask yourself, could there be more to the story than what I've experienced in this life? If you find yourself repeating the same patterns, or feeling inexplicably drawn to certain pursuits, what if that was a clue pointing to something deeper, something that could unlock your potential and offer you new perspectives on your journey? Whether you see it as the echo of a past life or simply a deeper understanding of the forces that shape your current life, it's time to use that insight to break free from cycles that no longer serve you. After all, by drawing lessons from the past, you can transform your present and create a future filled with purpose, fulfillment, and clarity.